I'm Lindsay McMillan, this is Colby Fraser, Matt Hinton, Juliana Brennick, and Rachel McDonald. And today we're going to be doing an in-depth analysis of a case called the Olympic Selection Character, Competence, and Commitment, where we'll be analyzing and picking suitable volleyball players for the Olympic men's volleyball team.
Leading up to the 2016 Summer Olympics, Canadian men's national volleyball head coach Glenn Hogue faced many difficult decisions regarding the composition of the volleyball team that would represent Canada at the Olympics. Hogue previously played on the Canadian national team during the 1980s. This period was considered the glory years in Canadian volleyball history, as the team placed fourth in the 1984 Olympics and captured gold at the 1984 Commonwealth Games. Hogue eventually transitioned his career to Europe and then transitioned into an assistant coach role for the French national team. In this position, Hogue was responsible for scouting the opposing team, which included the Canadian team twice. Here, Hogue identified weaknesses in Canada's play style. The head coach job for the Canadian team became available, and Hogue applied for the role. Hogue was eventually selected to be the coach of the national team. Here, Hogue was not only faced with the difficult roster decisions, but also the problem of lack of exposure to the sport of volleyball in Canada. In Canada, the majority of young children participate in organized activities such as golf, ice hockey, and soccer. A Canadian study by the Canadian Heritage found that approximately 7% of Canadians participate in volleyball as opposed to 20%, 17%, and 14% for golf, ice hockey, and soccer, respectively. This analysis will discuss Hogue's decisions concerning roster selections and the exposure of volleyball using topics from organizational behavior, including the concepts and theories. Upon receiving the head coach position in 2005, Hogue identified an issue with the public exposure the sport of volleyball was receiving as a whole. The typical person was not exposed to the game until their teenage years, typically once one reached high school. By this time, children had already selected their preferred sport and lacked spare time to explore other opportunities, such as volleyball. This excluded many gifted athletes from Hogue's potential pool of players. To combat this obstacle, Hogue and members of Volleyball Canada implemented a development plan for future success. This plan was broken down into three categories: the teach, understand, and execute. The teach stage included developmental steps such as building skills in children, identifying advanced players, and offering high-performance camps for them to continue development of these skills. The understand stage contained limiting unforced errors, creating a philosophy for the game, and creating trust in the system that they were going to play. Lastly, the execute stage included bringing everything they've learned to matches, improving on their weaknesses, and adapting quickly to changes throughout the game.
This development plan has many aspects that can be related to organizational behavior, concepts, and theories. By implementing this plan, Volleyball Canada has shown their commitment to increase their competitiveness on the international stage. Volleyball Canada experienced a variation of continuance commitment, which can be defined as one's desire to remain a member of an organization due to an awareness of the cost of leaving. In this specific case, Volleyball Canada is aware of the costs associated with abandoning this long-term project. Although a specific dollar value was not disclosed, one can realistically estimate the costs would be well into the millions of dollars of taxpayers' money. Similar programs such as Hockey Canada has been successfully implemented in other sport associations in the country. Volleyball Canada also used these programs to their advantages with commitment as well. Through the use of the program, the organization was able to exert aspects of both effective and normative commitment into their athletes. Effective commitment is one's desire to remain a member of an organization due to a feeling of emotional attachment. One of the development plan goals was to increase awareness and participation in the sport at a younger age. Children are able to interact and make friends at activities such as sport camps. In work environments, employees create emotional bonds with coworkers that empowers them to remain with the organization. Here, Volleyball Canada is aiding the formation of friendships and emotional bonds in hopes these children will continue with the sport into their adult years. Normative commitment is one's desire to remain a member of an organization due to a feeling of obligation. This can be seen through a sense of guilt or a moral thing to do. In corporate companies, an example of this can be employees remaining within an organization after having their designation paid for by the company due to underlying feelings of obligation. Volleyball Canada's decision to offer high-performance camps to standout players can be viewed as an investment in the players. Exclusive camps encourage these obligatory feelings in players to remain a part of Volleyball Canada's system. Through the use of commitment in their development plan, Volleyball Canada was able to increase the organization's talent pool for future international events, aiding in the goal of increased public exposure.
The first player we're going to look at is 41-year-old Dan McElwain. His strengths are that he's a hard-working leader who's been around the team for over 6 years and been with Coach Hogue throughout that 6 years. Some negatives toward McElwain is that he's old and his strengths on the court would be very limited. The next player we're going to be looking at is also competing for the receiver role on the team, and that is Mark, and bear with me for a second, Mark Morenji. He's all 31 years old and has also been on the team for Hogue's tenure. He specializes in blocking, he's in great physical shape, and can bring a lot of energy to the court. He's the shape and culture of the team, and as we know from class, this with the social erosion model, removing a player like this from the team can be detrimental. His negatives, though, is that he can't do a lot on the court as he's only specialized in specific situations and has weaknesses in other ends to his game.
Our next player is Glenn Fiddick. Glenn, being the newest member of the team, seems to be one of the most versatile players on the roster. He played for some monumental team wins against the US and China. He is quiet, but has made a big impact on the other players. He's very good at pushing the team and keeping the others focused. He has good ball control, defense, and athleticism. Overall, this guy doesn't seem to have any downfalls.
The next player we're looking at will be Craig Oben, who is 34 years old. Craig has been the captain of the Canadian team for 6 years, where he exhibited a quiet leadership style. More recently, he has been playing a smaller role on the team. He's been referred to as the guy that should have been, as he hasn't lived up to his potential. He came into this year's camp 20 pounds overweight, and the coach did not feel that he believed in the team. His role in the team this year, however, would be limited to passing and ball control specialists. He's been part of the team all the way through Hogue's tenure as coach and has accepted new roles as the team evolved. And from the motivation chapter, those who feel a sense of internal self-confidence tend to outperform those who doubt their capabilities. So Craig's disbelief in the team will negatively impact the results.
So our next player is John Abalor, who is 28 years old, and this guy is one of the top performers on the team as a middle blocker when he's 100% focused and prepared. He's been consistent with the team for 6 years, and Hogg coached him early in his professional career when he was in Turkey. And not to mention during the summer leading up to the Olympics, he was performing at a very high level. However, we have to acknowledge his ego, because Hogg mentioned that he has a tendency to shut down mentally when he is not playing. So an example would be the time when he wasn't selected to dress and he was found in a tracksuit in the stands reading and just wandering around the venue, so it doesn't show that he's relatively a team player. Next player is Terry Lafargue, who's 26. Terry is known as the most promising up-and-coming middle blocker, and he's consistently made an impact in big games with his attacking and blocking. And when he was at his best performing level, his style of the sport could turn games around. But recently, he hasn't progressed with Team Canada and the style that the team has implemented. So, for example, he was overly developing nuisances and situational plays that would come with experience, but his presence is very strong with this team. Although he learned quickly over the summer with his teammates and played a big role in the team's overall success to qualify in the Olympics, so he appears to be a very good asset towards.
Let's discuss Phil Gavelin. This is a guy that has had the most radical transformation in his volleyball career since joining the team in 2008. He's pushed himself to become one of the top blockers in the program. After his shoulder surgery, he was benched for most of the season back in 2015. He's 32 years old, and he's pushing himself to recovery to prepare for his last go at the Olympics. And to me, that demonstrates great dedication and commitment. He's not in the best physical shape, but he has made a presence on the team with his intelligence and consistency. He shows the utmost coachability and hard work. Not to mention, he's well known to Hogue, and he learned from him, which shows he could be a great match for the team.
So I think that Phil would be a great option for the team just because he has that coachability aspect to him, and he's a hard worker. Not to mention, he just has a great presence on the team with his intelligence and his consistency.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying there, and I personally think that Terry should be on the team as well, just because of his vital contribution to getting the team to qualify for the Olympics overall. And just from what Hogg said, I don't believe that John is the most supportive player on the team, so that's the reason why I think it should be Terry and Phil. So do you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so with that being said, John's out.
All right.
So now we have the blocker side. Who do we want to do as our receivers?
I think Glenn, because he's very well rounded. I mean, he has awesome skills and the players love him.
I definitely have to agree with you there. Craig, on the other hand, I don't think Craig should make the team. His lack of focus and commitment just by showing up to camp overweight, I just don't think he has the internal drive to help this team win.
So we all agree to keep Glenn, cut Craig. But what about our last two spots? We got two great guys. We got Mark, who shapes the team's culture. We got Dan. Yes, he's old, but he's a strong leader. Who do you guys think we should take?
Personally, I think we should take Mark because I think that his ability to shape the team culture will really be able to help us. And an example of that would be like if we're down in a game or something and we need to rally, like Mark's going to be able to step up and talk to the guys and really be able to shape a comeback, where I'm not sure if Dan will be able to do that.
What do you think, Jules?
Yeah, I totally think Mark too.
Yeah, I was originally Dan, but I think what you guys have said, Mark makes the best sense for the team.
Yeah, and if we're doing this as a group selection process, 2 votes to 1, it's gonna have to be Mark.
Yeah, so cut Mark, or to keep Mark, cut Craig.
Perfect.
Agree.
All right.
So in conclusion, we recommend that Glenn and his coaching staff sit down and seriously consider putting these organizational behavior theories and concepts into action to aid in their selection process in hopes of medaling in future Olympics.